Okay, so my first question for the CBA geometry review for 2017, 2018, and that CBA2 is if you're given a triangle, for example, and I have, let's say, A, B, C, and this is, let's say, D, and I say that my angle ABD is congruent to my angle DBC angle there. Can you tell me what kind of secondary part is line segment BD? So what is BD? If angle ABD is congruent to angle DBC. Okay, very good. BD is an angle bisector. Now, another scenario. So that's the first scenario. What if for the second scenario, what if I say that AD is congruent to CD? What will that make BD become? Okay, so based off of the definition of a median, BD becomes a median because AD and CD are congruent, which means that BD is a segment that is connected from the vertex of your triangle to the midpoint of the other side. So the third scenario is, what if I say that BD is perpendicular AC? What will that become of BD? So very good. BD is now called the altitude if the scenario says that BD is perpendicular AC and they form the right angle, and altitude is that secondary part of a triangle that forms a right angle to the opposite side from the vertex. Okay, so the next figure shows you parallel lines. So line 1, line 2, and line 3 are all parallel, and whenever they are parallel, we have several types of angles that are congruent. So let's go with the corresponding angles first. So corresponding angles are so the congruent ones first, or the equal. So corresponding angles, we have the alternate interior angles, and we have the alternate exterior. And those are the congruent angles. Okay. So let's go ahead and start listing our corresponding angles, or at least mention which are your corresponding angles. So, the corresponding angles are as follows. So, 1, 6, 10 are all corresponding. 2, 5, 9 are also corresponding. 11, 7, and 3 are corresponding. 4, 8, and 12 are corresponding. And all those sets of numbers are going to be congruent. Okay, now let's go to alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are, this is one pair. This is another pair, 3 and 6. They're all congruent. And that's in between lines 1 and 2. Now let's go to lines 2 and 3. Lines 2 and 3, your alternate interior are 8 and 9, 7 and 10, and 8 and 9 are going to be congruent. 7 and 10 will also be congruent. And now, lines 1 and 3 are also, they're also alternate interior on lines 1 and 3, and those are 4 and 9. They're congruent. 3 and 10. they are congruent. So now let's go to alternate exterior. In regards to lines 1 and 2, alternate exteriors are as follows. 2 and 8 is one pair. 1 and 7 is another pair, and they're all congruent. Oh, no, they're not all congruent, but then each pair are congruent. So 1 and 7 will be congruent, and then 2 and 8 will have another measurement different from 1 and 7, but they're congruent. Now let's go to lines 2 and 3. Lines 2 and 3 alternate exterior are as follows. 5 and 12, 6 and 11. And then now we go to lines 1 and 3. Alternate exteriors are 2 and 12, 1 and 11. Those are all your congruent angles. So now we're going to go to the angles that are supplementary or 180 degrees. Supplementary angles are going to be the interior on the same side of the transversal T and exterior on the same side of transversal T. Okay, now let's look at this. So let's do lines 1 and 2 first. 4 and 6 will sum up to 180 degrees. 3 and 5 will sum up to 180 degrees, and these are your interior on the same side. In regards to lines 1 and 2, exterior on the same side will be 2 and 7, which will be supplementary, summing up to 180 degrees. 1 and 8 will also be supplementary, summing up to 180 degrees, and that's in regards to lines 1 and 2. Now let's go to lines 2 and 3. Interior angles are as follows. Interior angle on the same side are 8 and 10, which will sum up to 180. 7 and 9 will sum up to 180. 5 and 11, same as 6 and 12. They will all sum up to 180 degrees. Okay. Next one. I am so sorry. I did not mean to make it look like they're not. This is not isosceles. I want this to be isosceles. Okay. So JOY. All right. Let's say this is 120 degrees. Your question is, how much will the base angle be? So question. So how much will the base angle be? So in this particular example, we have triangle JOY. Given the angle 120 degrees, and given that the two sides are congruent, which means that we have an obtuse isosceles triangle right here. So what we're going to do is, we know that the sum of all the angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. We're going to subtract the given angle from 180, which will give us 60. But the 60-degree angle, those are degrees, must be split equally by 2. And the reason is because the sum of the angles in a triangle is 180, but then when the sides are equal, or when the sides are congruent, the angles opposite them will also be congruent. That is in the base angle theorem that we have discussed yesterday. So this is going to be your angle Y is 30 degrees, and your angle J is also going to be 30 degrees. So what if I have another scenario? What if I use the same figure, but I have a scenario that says that so this is scenario number 2. What if my angle Y is equal to 2x plus 1? Find x. So what if we have scenario number 2 where we are given that angle y is equal to 2x plus 1. So after doing all the math, you know that this is going to be 60 for both of them. And so I will just put 2x. The solution here is 2x plus 1 plus 2x plus 1 must total to 60. And you are going to have 4x plus 2 equals 60. And 4x equals 60 minus 2, which will be 4x equals 58. Divide by 4, divide by 4. X is 14.5. Let's do scenario number 3. And the scenario number 3 is, this is if the question is find x. So this is whenever your scenario is find x. Whenever your scenario is find the angle, then you're going to do this. So angle y is equal to 2 parentheses 14.5 plus 1. Angle y is equal to 29 plus 1, which is 30 degrees. All right. Okay, example number 4. What if we have a triangle and we have all these values in the triangle? So we have binomial 3x plus 2 degrees, x plus 1 degrees, x minus 8 degrees, and we need to find the x. So the first scenario is find x. Scenario number 1, find x. The way to do this is you're going to add them all up. So you're going to have 3x plus 2 plus x plus 1 plus x minus 8, and equate them to, very good, 180 degrees. You're going to go ahead and remove the parentheses. You're going to go ahead and combine like terms, which will give me a 5x minus 5 and divide by 5, and I believe that this is 37. That's not the degrees, that's just the value of x. Scenario number 2 is to plug in the x in each of them to find the measure of each angle. So your u is going to be, this is going to be 38. Let's do it here. Angle u is going to be 38 degrees. Angle f is going to be, so multiplying 37 by 3 and then is 111 plus 2 will give you 113 degrees, and then angle n gives you 29 degrees. Sum them up and they will be 180 degrees. Okay, so my next example is, what if you have an exterior angle and 2 remote interior angles and you're looking for x. So the first scenario is find x. According to the exterior angle theorem, the basis is the exterior angle theorem. We found out yesterday that the exterior angle is going to be equal to the sum of the remote interior angles. So that's going to be 2x plus x will be equal to 132 degrees, and this is 3x equals 132, which if I divide by 3 is going to give me 44 degrees.